Hey everyone, and welcome to this edition of Psychedelic Radio. I'm Christina Thomas, and I am the president and founder of Myself Wellness. And with me is Charles Patti, Chief Education Officer and Brand Ambassador. Each week, we'll be pushing boundaries, breaking taboos, and shedding light on the use of psychedelic medicines. We want to share expert knowledge and firsthand accounts of those who've experienced transformative psychic shifts using psychedelics. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And journeying with us today is Daron Babin. Daron is the co-founder of Cannabis Radio and one of our very dear friends, and we're so excited to have him on this episode.
Hey, Daron. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is it's going to be interesting. You know, I'm excited to talk with you guys about this. You know, obviously we've had some in-depth conversations. And you know, lately I have been, how would you put it? I guess, once you experience what you guys do over at Myself Wellness, I think it's hard to not talk about it, right? Like, it is truly difficult to not have conversations where the experience is dominating your conversation. And it's quite a profound thing. So thank you for having me today. I'm excited to come and talk to your listeners about what my experience was, because it was profound.
Well, no, we appreciate that, and honestly, I feel the same way. It's like, you know, once you have an experience like this, you really just want to tell everybody. It's really hard not to.
And I feel like for us, it never gets old.
Well, it's all different.
Hearing about it, yeah, it's all different.
It's different for everybody, you know. So I imagine you guys being in the vortex of this wellness. I imagine the stories that you guys hear are unbelievable. You know, I know. I mean, if you guys want me to dive right in, I'm happy to dive right in and talk about some of what happened with me. I can wholeheartedly say I didn't have any clue what to expect, and I can wholeheartedly say that I think that maybe helped, because I know people express the fear of the unknown, and I think I'm good for the most part with fear of the unknown, with the exception of death, and that was a huge, monstrous fear of mine. And, you know, we met Charles and Christina at an event, and, you know, we got to talking, and, you know, one thing led to another, and, you know, here we are, we're working together, and it's like, well, we need to go experience what this is all about. So, you know, we can articulate to other people on the network, you know, what this is about. We're expanding into psychedelics on the network, so, you know, we need to understand. Okay, great. So Brandy and I, we get in the car, we drive to Bonita Springs, and I gotta say, first off, you know, treatment aside, the environment is just truly a beautiful environment. I mean, you guys have done an amazing job there. It's very warm, it's very inviting. Even beforehand, when you meet Dr. Ferber is awesome. Like, Dr. Ferber is he's this old doctor that is definitely, I gotta say, hippie doctor, right? Doesn't that qualify, right? Almost, sure. He's got that vibe, but he's in touch with himself. He is the most chi-centered person I think I know today. It's kind of funny. But you meet with Dr. Ferber, and you know, he runs you through everything, and you get your prescription, and then it becomes this very singular journey, you know. And I'm there with my wife, who I do everything with. We built this podcast network together, the 2 podcast networks, trade shows together. We do everything together, except for this. This was going to be a very individual, alone thing. And so I know that was a bit fish out of water for her. For me, it was very interesting, because I think from a clinical point of view, what you guys provide really allowed me the opportunity to explore something I never would have considered before, because people hear about ketamine on the streets and whatever, and you form these perceptions. And I think jabbing a needle in my arm ever for anything other than some sort of I really need it, somebody's taking blood or whatever, doesn't make any sort of sense, and was a line I never ever was going to cross. And so after having all of what you guys do explained to me, I very happily sat down in that giant comfortable chair, and the nurses explained what was going to happen. They took my blood pressure, and they gave me some meds to make sure I wasn't going to get sick, and it was all very warm and done in love. You could feel that. And I got to tell you, what happened next was something that I wasn't prepared for. First off, I'm going to recommend put seatbelts on those things. And just a joke, guys.
Scare everybody away, Darren.
I mean, it was like, wow, this is I didn't. So I think the thing that was most jarring about my first experience was the separation from myself.
Yeah. And
that was so jarring for me personally, because I think, like everybody, I had more wrapped up in my ego than I thought I did. And seeing what made me kind of pulled away, was interesting. But when I came out of that journey, there was something different, very different. And I couldn't explain it at that point. Didn't really understand it yet. And really, I think, as you guys may, talk a lot about on this show's integration, I needed to sit with that for a little bit. Yeah. And it was extremely profound. But I got to tell you, I knew that at the end of the first one, I knew I was on for something special and something, as I continue to say, profound, that was unexplainable after the first one. But I think as I continued forward in my journey, it became quite evident why I was there.
Well, no, we appreciate that, and that's beautiful, man. I think one thing that's really magical about ketamine, and it's what you are touching on, it is the separation from the body and the mind. And I think that's where, I think that this is where this experience really differs from a lot of other psychedelic compounds out there. And, and this is where a true mental reset is taking place. And it really allows, your body to go into this healing state because the mind is separated from the body, this total disassociation. So I actually tell a lot of people that I believe that a lot of the magic from ketamine therapy is in the disassociation with the medicine.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with that. I feel like, because since my experience, I've dug in to trying to understand ketamine more, and other people's experiences anecdotally of where they were before treatment and where they were after treatment. And, I think you touched on it. You said the word reset, which was ironic because that was my journey. And I had no idea that's what my journey was meant to be about. I've heard all the stories of folks that have gone in, maybe seen loved ones, maybe seen very traumatic experiences, but because of the disassociation, they're able to view that and look at it for what it is, not have an emotional attachment to it or reaction to it, but see that this isn't something that serves them. Understand that. I never quite experienced that. My experience was very, very different, and one that had once or twice questioned reality itself, and whether the state of Florida and how it exists was real or not. And then I think in that, as I started to move forward through that, I began to recognize that there was always forward motion for me inside of my ketamine treatment. Whatever it was in me, there was some sort of motion that needed to be happening. And ironically, when I got down to my last journey, my last session was for those of you that weren't seeing video, it was wow, holy crap, kind of, it was I came out of it in tears, crying. It was so unbelievably awe-inspiring, because it was a longer session, and at the midway point in my session, something dramatically shifted, and I came to the awareness in me that I was now going to be shown my reset button, and I was shown my own personal reset button, which is why I was it was like Charles hit the nail on the head with the reset, because there it was for me, and it was there. Not that I needed to push it, right? It was just shown to me. I knew that now that I'd seen it, because I had committed to myself and committed to doing the therapy, because what most people listening don't know or realize is I would drive 2 hours one way to Bonita Springs to go have the treatment, and then we'd have to wait for quite a while afterwards for it to settle out of our systems to then get in the car and then drive back, because we needed to be back for work and what have you. And then we'd worked out our last time where we went and got a room and we stayed. But that journey, there was a commitment for us, right? And more so, I think, in my mind was I needed to follow through. And the ketamine essentially showed me that I wasn't going to be allowed to reset if I didn't follow through. And so it was so profound for me, that last experience, that it was baffling.
Well, I like what you touched on, and this is really like where I think a lot of the healing benefits from the medicine come from too. And this isn't even for the mental health aspect as just much as like when we are constantly go, like, we're entrepreneurs, we're busy with work or family or whatever it is, we're in this constant state of overdrive. And I don't think people, it's like we're plugged in constantly. And right. I don't think people can really understand how beneficial it is to like detach yourself for an hour and let Dr. Michelle Weiner talks about it. And when she says we have all of these thoughts, these disorganized thoughts that are flying through our mind, rapidly all of the time. And when you get into these disassociated states, it really allows all of these thoughts to settle and then reorganize themselves. So it's like there's not so much clutter. Our thought and action and execution of our thoughts and what we're trying to do becomes so much more sharp, because of this mental reset and allowing everything to organize in our minds. So I found that with my own personal journey a lot as well.
Well, I wholeheartedly believe it, because I think, there's a whole lot that we don't know and we don't recognize that we don't know. And I think a part of that is, so this is how I explain it to folks, because, there's a lot of folks, since we've done this, we hear people, they are experiencing trauma in their life, depression in their life, like deep depression. And so it has presented opportunity for us to talk to them about these types of healing experiences. And so, I liken it to a laptop computer or to a mobile phone, right? We tend to open tabs and keep opening them, and we don't close them, right? And we keep opening them, and our body, our physical body, it's a computer. It's just like this. It's just like this, the laptop. It's a running program, and the more stuff the more tabs we got running here, right? We start to run clunky, just like our phones, just like our laptops. And so I liken ketamine to going and finding the reboot button.
Yeah.
And once you do that, holy shit, pardon my French, this laptop, you start running perfectly again, just like you were before, right? Finely tuned, your memory working, everything's good. And so for me, right, this is anecdotal, guys. This is just my personal experience. I began the treatment, tried to wrap my head around it, and part of the way, I'd say halfway through, I'm recognizing changes in my relationships with people around me, with my friends, with my family, changes in my work. It was almost like there was this plug, right? Just an energetic plug that just kept any forward momentum in life from moving at that point. And it was almost like by the third session, that plug, poof, right out, and all of a sudden everything started working again, just as normal, life functioning the way it should.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And I think too, what you said was really important, is that you had to be committed and you had to follow through. And every week you guys came, every single Friday, I think it was, you were always here. And we see so many people that they're just not willing to do that. They do a couple treatments and then they take a break. And you have to be committed. If you want to change and you want to heal and you want your life to transform, you have to commit.
Well, so there's a twofold benefit to this, right? Benefit number one is I liken it to doing 20 years worth of therapy in an hour, right? And you don't need a box of tissues unless it's so unbelievably profound when you wake up that you are so beyond grateful that you're bawling your eyes out, which is, I've been at that place, right? But it is the benefit of the medicine itself, which let's also throw out there, guys, that it is absolutely amazing for the brain's neuroplasticity.
Yeah,
that's just a side effect of it. But again, when you get that reboot and you're able to do that, but think of it like this: when you're given a medication from any doctor, The doctor directs you to take that medication a certain way.
Yep.
Why? Because it affects your brain chemistry. This is what you're there for, is to fix your brain. If you don't commit and follow the protocol, you're cheating yourself and you're wasting time and money, because maybe you get a little bit of the benefit, but if you're not on schedule and doing it the way that you really should, God, guys, like, then you're really cheating yourself out. And then I think you maybe have to ask yourself, do I really want to stay in this place that I'm in right now? Because if so, then I'll just continue to cheat myself. Otherwise, it's really easy. You made the decision, you educated yourself, you went and have done 1 or 2 treatments. Stay on target, because I can wholeheartedly tell you, I could have been shown my reset button in my first or second journey, but I wasn't, right? Our minds, they're a crazy, amazing place that is just not understood. And if you really love yourself, then you'll give yourself the shot to actually get the full benefit, because there are so many people that deserve access to this, that don't have access to this, that should have access to this. Because I got to tell you, it is unbelievably profound. And the experience provided over there, it's amazing. This beautiful purple room behind these guys it's an amazing place to integrate afterwards. You know, to me, it's sad to hear that people aren't following through, because it is such a beautiful outcome. And for those that aren't suffering, traumatic things, who don't realize they need the reset and then go through it, right? You suddenly realize, oh shit, I really needed that.
Oh, for sure. I tell people, like, the number of treatments and the schedule to do them, this isn't like something we made up. This is what the science has shown to be the most effective way to administer the medicine, and how many treatments and this and that. And, and the problem is like, a lot of people will actually start to feel good, like, after their second or third treatment, and they're like, oh, okay, I feel really good, I'm good now, and it's like, no, like, that's when people will rebound. They come in, they do the first few, they feel good, and then all of a sudden they don't follow through on the back end as quickly as they're supposed to, and they start spreading them out too far, and then they're like, oh, wait a second, this isn't working for me.
Or it didn't work, but you just didn't listen to what we told you to
do. I gotta tell you, I have experienced, just as a result of running through your protocol, and just the sheer how profound it was, I wanted to experience the other protocols that were out there, just to see and compare, like, is this as good as it gets, right? Because I got to tell you, Charles and Christina, that they told me, this is what you're going to expect. And I pretty much experienced what they said to expect. And so I've tried various other modalities. I've gone to this thing where it was folks doing a hape ceremony with a ketamine troche. And that was interesting. It was meditative.
For everybody who doesn't know, is the oral ketamine.
It's oral ketamine. Yeah.
Yep.
It was interesting. I've done the ketamine and Toradol, magnesium to break a headache. Went in, had this horrible migraine. 1 hour later, came out and headache was gone. That was great. Was not a profound, deep psychedelic healing experience like.
And that was IV. That
was an IV protocol, and I would also expect that if that were to happen, that might be challenging considering some of the. I mean, I've ended up in the middle of my journey having to go to the bathroom, and that was kind of challenging. If I were tied up to an IV, I don't know how that would work. Yeah. But I got to say, of the experiences that I've had, I mean, I wholeheartedly consider the protocol that you guys do there to be one that, if you're really looking to connect in an unexplainable, profound way, and you're not comfortable with talking to somebody about your feelings and the things that have beat you up in life because it's just too hard to talk about, put a mask on, go sit in their chair, and wow, you can deal with it, and you don't have to say a word to anybody about it. And I think it's a way that it just allows you to heal and to become a whole person again without carrying baggage from the past, like we've all got mommy and daddy issues. We've all got, past spouse issues. We all carry that baggage. But I think through psychedelic therapies, I have seen more in the last, couple of years of folks that have suffered taking SSRIs and, these prescription pills, depression pills, and it's just made them worse. And, again, that's anecdotal, my opinion. But I can wholeheartedly say for the folks that I have seen turning to alternative plant medicines and psychedelic therapies, those folks are finding the outcomes that they were looking for all along. And it is, I'm blessed that, I met you guys. It was such, for me, I found it kismet, and I know what you guys are doing is, it's definitely a labor of love.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, and the feeling's very mutual about meeting you and Brandy as well. It's really nice connecting with like-minded people that are out for the betterment of humanity and that are genuine.
Absolutely. I mean,
she couldn't be here today too.
She wanted to be here because, of course, like, she's been down this journey, and her journey was very, very different than mine. She experienced almost every time she ends up in what she calls her transport pod, and she's zooming all over, and I think the outcome for her jointly was the same for us. It literally energetically unplugged the both of us. So I know that she's eager to share. She shares all the time about it. It's hard not to. That's what I'm saying. It is hard not to talk about this stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like one of our other clients, he said basically, like, after his treatments, he felt like the villager that discovered fire.
Right.
He just wanted to share. He wanted to teach everybody else how to make the fire. It's just like,
yeah, because nobody's gonna believe you, right? Let's just go home.
No, this is one of those things where it's like, it's almost hard to talk about it with people that haven't had these kind of experiences before, because like it sounds crazy. A lot of the stuff that happens during these treatments to somebody that's never had a psychedelic experience before, they're like, okay, this guy's crazy or this is nuts. But it's just like, it just is,
Well, that's what Brandy says. Like, we'll be out at dinner at a restaurant and you're having, these conferences. So I was in a transport pod and there's all these zooming fractals and, like, people are eyeballing your table and you're like, maybe you just not talk so loud. But it's interesting how often somebody chimes in and asks, was that mushrooms?
Yeah. I love when people eavesdrop on these conversations, because all this, especially when you talk about psychedelics, though, because like they chime in and they're like, "Hey, wait, what a second, what are you talking about over there?"
Right.
people are really interested. I love the fact that this stuff is going more and more mainstream and becoming less taboo, and more people are open-minded to all of this stuff, and that's really what I'm finding in my everyday life. I have, like, people at the gym that I've known for years that are, like, in their late 60s and early 70s, and they're like asking me about microdosing and stuff
Charles
like that.
tells everybody.
Well, I have to. I do.
Well, but you're right. Like, there is. Okay, so this is kind of funny. I mean, I'm totally aging myself, but I went to the Doobie Brothers concert. Their 50 it was the 50th anniversary with Mike McDonald, and I got to tell you, it was the geriatrics were there at the amphitheater for. I mean, I saw a couple of walkers. I swear. Okay, so there's the amphitheater. All the gray hairs were on the hill, and I got to tell you, I've never seen more geriatrics partying. I mean, they were drinking, they were smoking weed, and they were doing mushrooms.
Awesome.
It was crazy. I gotta tell you, I feel like there is a psychedelic awakening happening, and whether or not it's a combination of things like the benefit of having Michael Pollan's documentary come out. I know you guys put a documentary out. There's more of these documentaries that are getting put out. That I think the more that word gets out there, the more that this renaissance will continue to rise. I'm excited.
Yeah, totally. We are too.
I know we go on forever with you.
I know.
That's all the time we have for today, unfortunately.
All right, my dear.
We'll have to do this again.
Yeah.
You guys, next time we'll bring Brandy on. She'll talk about the transport pods.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today, Daron, and thank you everybody for journeying with us on this edition of Psychedelic Radio. You can download past episodes of our program by going to cannabisradio.com or by subscribing to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. To learn more about us, please visit our website, myselfwellness.center today. And if nobody's told you that they love you lately,
we do.